Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch Break Live with Tea Party Patriots Action. I'm Bill Pasco, Tea Party Patriots man in Washington, and I will be giving you both the call to action and the Washington Report this week. Let's get to it. The House may or may not come back into session on Wednesday. We'll see. The Senate will come back into session today and may leave Thursday. We'll see. This week in the House, since we're not sure if the House is coming back this week or not, we're not at all sure of the House's proposed schedule. The House Majority Leader has not posted a floor schedule for the week as he usually does in advance of a session. This week in the Senate will return today with the first vote set for 5:30 p.m. At that time, the Senate will vote to end debate on the nomination of U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Michael Waltz to be representative of the United States to the sessions of the General Assembly of the United Nations during his tenure of service as representative of the United States to the United Nations. That was one heck of a sentence. If debate is ended, the Senate will vote to confirm him to that position. And then the Senate will vote on a motion to end debate on the motion to proceed to calendar number 161. That's S2806. To provide for automatic continuing appropriations. Now, James Comey was indicted. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted last Thursday by the new acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, after she got at least 14 members of a grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia, to agree there was enough evidence to charge the former federal official with making a false statement in the jurisdiction of a congressional proceeding and obstructing a congressional proceeding. The grand jury voted against indicting Comey on a second false statements charge. 5 years ago tomorrow, on September 30, 2020, Comey appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He appeared before the committee via Zoom from his home in Northern Virginia, which explains the choice of venue for the charges. You charge where the crime occurred. At that hearing, Comey was asked whether he stood by his prior testimony given in 2017 that he neither leaked nor authorized the leaking of information to reporters about the FBI investigation into Trump or Trump's 2016 campaign opponent, Hillary Clinton. Comey testified that he had not, quote, authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports, unquote, said the DOJ in its charging documents. Quote, that statement was false, unquote. Stay tuned. Now, government spending, deal or no deal? Government funding runs out at midnight Tuesday. That's tomorrow night. On Wednesday morning at 12:01 a.m., a government shutdown begins. And if Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought has his way, tens of thousands of federal government employees will lose their jobs permanently. Vought sent a memo last Wednesday to federal agency directors, instructing them to prepare reductions in force plans for mass firings, specifically targeting employees who work for programs that are not legally required to continue, reported Politico. Of course, that makes you wonder. If the programs aren't legally required to continue, why are we waiting until there's a government shutdown to fire them? Shouldn't we fire them now, irrespective of any government shutdown, even as we close down the programs that aren't legally required to continue? This is just one of the things to keep your eyes on this week as the shutdown showdown plays out. Last week, Democrat congressional leaders Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, set up a meeting to talk with President Trump. They insisted that he meet with them to discuss their demands for providing the votes necessary to keep the government open. But then the president spoke with Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson, and they both appeared to have convinced him that there was no point in meeting with the Democrats, and the meeting was canceled. Then Speaker Johnson let slip the fact that he was thinking of not bringing the House back into session this week at all. He had already canceled House sessions planned for the first 2 days of the week and had said the House wouldn't come back until Wednesday, at which point the government would likely already be in shutdown mode. So, when it became clear the House GOP leadership was thinking of not coming back at all, it only seemed to send another message that Republicans were playing hardball. Schumer and Jeffries tried again toward the end of the week. I don't know which side caved in order to get the meeting set, but a meeting was set for this afternoon at 3 p.m. at the White House. President Trump will meet there with all four top congressional leaders, Johnson, Thune, Schumer, and Jeffries. The Republicans' position is simple. Pass a clean CR that extends government funding at its current levels for another 7 weeks to give the appropriators the time they need to finish their work on the appropriations bills that are necessary to keep the government open. The Democrats' position is also simple. Pass a complicated CR that extends government funding at its current levels for 4 weeks to give the appropriators the time they need to finish their work on the appropriations bills that are necessary to keep the government open, and restore the $1 trillion in Medicaid savings that were part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and extend the expiring Obamacare premium tax credits, which will cost another $350 billion over the next 10 years, and promise us that President Trump will forget the word rescission and will never do another rescissions package again. There's not a lot to negotiate here. Democrats say they will not provide the votes necessary to move the spending bill through the Senate unless they get what they want. And Republicans insist the Democrats will not get what they want. So this standoff ends when one side blinks, and not before. In advance of this afternoon's meeting, Speaker Johnson and his leadership team held a conference call with all the House GOP members at 11:15 this morning. I haven't yet gotten a readout on that. So all I can tell you is stay tuned. Now, the Supreme Court rules on pocket rescissions for now. On Friday, the Supreme Court ruled that President Trump could unilaterally withhold $4 billion in foreign aid he had announced he was rescinding via so-called pocket rescission. A pocket rescission, as we've discussed, is when the president announces his intent to rescind funds previously appropriated by Congress, but does so within 45 days of the end of the fiscal year, thereby sidestepping the need to get Congress's approval on the rescissions package. Because unobligated, that is unspent money, cannot be obligated or spent. It automatically dies if it's sitting in an agency's bank account at the end of the fiscal year. The Supreme Court agreed with the government's position that the plaintiffs in this case had no legal standing, and that the only person who can sue the president over a pocket rescission is the Comptroller General of the United States, who runs the Government Accounting Office. The Supreme Court did not, however, take a position on the underlying merits of the case. Since it didn't have to, once a majority of the justices agreed that the plaintiffs had no standing, there was no need to delve deeper into the merits of the arguments. Stay tuned. Now to the Jenny Beth Show. On Wednesday of last week, episode 140 of the Jenny Beth Show dropped, featuring Jenny Beth's conversation with Alabama State Representative Chip Brown. The discussion was taped a few weeks ago during the last leg of the Only Citizens Vote bus tour, and it highlights talk about the fight for election integrity, the importance of the SAVE Act, and Alabama's leadership in passing voter ID and ensuring only citizens vote. As always, highly recommended. And that's our Washington report for this week. Now to the call to action. The Election Assistance Commission is now taking public comments in support of the petition filed by America First Legal Foundation, asking the EAC to change the voter registration form to include proof of citizenship. If you go to www.regulations.gov, that's www.regulations.gov, you'll find a search box right in the middle of the page. Type in America First Legal Foundation, and you'll get search results. And the very first search result says, Petition of America First Legal Foundation for Rulemaking. That's the one you want. Click on that link, and it'll take you to the comments page for the AFL petition. And there you'll see a box that says, Comment. Move the cursor there and click it, and you'll be able to enter your comment up to 5,000 characters. The comments period is open for another 3 weeks until Monday, October 20. Then, once you've done that, you can follow through on our second call to action for this week. Call Senate Democrats and tell them you oppose a government shutdown and you support passage of a clean funding resolution, a clean CR. Democrats are demanding more than $1 trillion in additional funding, and they want it added to this short-term temporary funding resolution. That's not the way to do it. All we're trying to do now is keep the government open at current funding levels. Democrats should not be threatening to shut down the government if they don't get what they want. That's just wrong. So please call Senate Democrats and let them know you support a clean funding resolution, a clean CR. Well, that's our broadcast for this week. We'll see you next week, same place, same time. Until then, be well and be active.